So let's do an update on Chelsea Manning, right? Private Manning, Bradley, Chelsea Manning. This is such a tragedy. This is so sad. I cannot believe that we have, 2010 is when Chelsea Manning was arrested and thrown in jail for this, and here it's 10 years later. Chelsea Manning had got clemency, and Pete Buttigieg is, troubled for clemency for not only Chelsea Manning, but Julian Assange and Edward Snowden, too. These three are our heroes of our times. They're not just, for press freedom and freedom of speech, and they're also anti-war. So these are the Daniel Ellsbergs of our time. So in the end, what are we going to wait for them to die and then be like, oh, shit, man, we shouldn't have treated them so shitty their entire existence because they were absolute goddamn heroes. It's ironic and insane and actually just not only hypocritical, but just downright evil and wicked that Donald Trump is going to go ahead and pardon these war criminals. These people that murdered people, right? They murdered and they killed people, but, as soon as Donald gets in the power, as soon as he grabs the gauntlet and he's, in the Oval Office in the White House, as soon as he gets power, January 2017, he tweets that Bradley, Chelsea Manning is an ungrateful traitor. An ungrateful traitor. What Manning has done has shown courage. It's shown convictions. They're going to, Manning's going to stand up for his principles. He's going to stand up for his convictions, and that's to, when he sees bad, to pursue good, to do good, to stop bad, to not do bad. And Donald, unfortunately, people, that have been convicted of war crimes, which, imagine that, in America, there's actually some people who are convicted of war crimes. 1 million dead in Iraq, but we've got, 5 people who's been convicted of war. Well, those people are pardoned. They killed innocent people. They murdered, they went through the, court-martial, were convicted. But the good soldiers, so bad soldiers who get convicted of war crimes, they're okay in Donald's eyes. But Manning, Private Manning, good soldiers, he doesn't get a pardon. He gets more jail time. And for doing what? For refusing to testify? For not listening to a subpoena? Is that not what precisely Donald Trump did during his impeachment trial? And all those goonies and cronies, he told them not to, the subpoenas, just ignore the subpoenas. And so we actually get what a lesson that we get from the President of the United States. That you don't, trials aren't fair. Trials are inherently political. People will just side with their team, so make sure your team is in power. And it doesn't matter if you're, guilty of the Ukraine military Joe Biden scandal or not. But it happens in lower courts. So if somebody was contempt of court, didn't show up, did this or did that, the judge can issue a warrant, and then a police officer, when they stop you, has to arrest you, even if it's for a library book, right? Even if you just a $20 fine. If that's what the judge says, it's a warrant, you didn't show up to court, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. So when Donald and all his cronies ignored the subpoenas and they ignored all those court orders, how are they able to get away with that? How come the Congress hasn't issued any warrant, any warrants for the arrest of anybody in the executive branch? They ignored subpoenas. A commoner would get thrown in jail for the contempt of court like that, but you're rich and powerful and you get away with, everything, anything and everything. Rape, murder, arson, kidnap, just whatever the hell you want, just anything and everything, huh? So, yeah, the Chelsea Manning thing, just to give you background information, in 2010, Manning's going to be put into jail for helping, essentially, Julian Assange. I have my issues. Manning, Private Manning, deserves all the rights as anybody else. But I do wonder if, as a society, we have absolutely psychologically tortured Manning to a point where he's, cutting up his genitalia. You can be feminine and in a male's body, But when you start doing, the cross-dressing is fun, but the surgery, the cutting up your genitals, I don't get that. I don't get that. But I feel like as a society, did we do that? Did we fuck up Manning? Of course we fucked up Manning. Manning's a good person. And meanwhile, bad people get, pardoned, and then good people are still having to go to jail. So Manning saw that there was a helicopter. It was called Collateral Damage, and it was war crimes. So American helicopter killed some reporters and some children on the ground, injured children or killed them, and killed innocent people. So there was an attack. Some people came in to help the people that were injured, and then they got attacked. So that's like a double tap, right? So they had a double tap. So they came back, did the double tap, and killed a bunch of innocent people. It was caught on video, and Bradley, at the time, Private Manning went ahead and took that information, put it on a Lady Gaga CD, had a blank CD written with Lady Gaga, and then it was sent to Julian Assange, or so we assume, something like that happened. So that's okay. He'd get charged, thrown in jail. 2010, he's put into jail, sentenced to 35 years. 35 years put in jail. That's how long we're going to put a hero in our federal, penitentiaries. Barack Obama is going to commute the sentence, and then, Private Manning is going to be free for 22 months. January 2018, Manning ran for U.S. Senator of Maryland, ran nonetheless. It was a radical platform of abolishing private prisons and some other, really good stuff, abolishing ICE. 22 months of freedom. So since 2010 till today, Private Manning has been in jail. But there was, almost 2 years when Private Manning had his freedom. February 2019, the U.S. government is going to subpoena Private Manning, to testify before the grand jury in the case against Julian Assange. Private Manning refuses. The grand jury system has 99% indictment rate, but cops don't get indicted even for murder. Private Manning is being held in prison for contempt of court. Manning is prepared to spend 18 months in jail, the maximum sentence, because Manning says either I got to do one of two things. Either I go to jail, which is going to be terrible for me, or I break my own convictions and principles, and I can't do that for my own, psychological well-being. So basically he had two shitty options. And so he's not going to speak up. He's not going to testify against, Julian Assange. He's not going to help the case against Julian Assange. So the U.S. government, the whole Sweden thing, they went ahead and dropped those charges. So there's no Swedish rape charges against Julian Assange. So that's, how convenient is that? Out of nowhere, he had these sex charges put on him for, 9 years, and then they just dropped the charges like a couple months ago. Insane. Insane. So, because Private Manning is doing the same thing that the president is doing, the judge threw Manning in jail. And he's going to be, she's going to be in jail. Private Manning's going to be in jail for 18 months. Been in jail for like a year now. Not only is Private Manning in jail, but Private Manning is also being fined every day, $500 a day, in custody after 30 days, and then $1,000 a day after 60 days. So that means for, a year and a half, $1,000 per day. He didn't want to be in prison, but they're going to charge him for the electric and the lights and the staff and all the fucking torture. So all the psychological torture that, Manning is getting, he's going to have to pay for $1,000 per day. And Private Manning isn't convicted of a crime. He hasn't been charged with or convicted of a crime. The point of confinement is just to force a coerced testimony. Judge Anthony Tringa, so fucking Anthony Tringa, and District Court Judge Claude M. Hilton of Eastern District, Virginia, they're the main culprits for fucking Chelsea Manning's life over. So Anthony Tringa, Claude M. Hilton of Eastern District of Virginia, they're the ones that, both of their names have been, mentioned on the case. They are okay with throwing Private Manning in jail for refusing to testify, for refusing to comply with the subpoena. Meanwhile, the president and all his cronies, with John Bolton and all the rest of them, well, they didn't even call for the witnesses, right? They voted to not even call for witnesses. So that's a hell of a trial, right? So, you know, for the Julian Assange case, nobody for Julian Assange should, you know, go testify. They shouldn't take any, doesn't matter if you're subpoenaed or not. And if you break a subpoena, apparently Congress isn't going to issue a warrant out for your arrest. But if you're a good person, if you're rich and powerful, if you're a rich and powerful bad guy, you get away with your shit. But if you're a poor and, you know, decent good guy, then you stay in jail. And you get fined $1,000 a day for being a good guy, for saying, hey, we shouldn't kill children and journalists in war. We shouldn't kill journalists and children in war. So, yeah, Private Manning is a hero, just like Julian Assange and Edward Snowden and, you know, Colin Kaepernick. Everybody is, you know, doing their resistance in their own different ways, but if you're making traction, good on you. Edward Snowden was holed up in the, you know, Ecuadorian embassy for the longest time. And then eventually he's getting arrested and had to go through all this rigmarole. He's an Australian citizen. So what was the crime? The crime was that a soldier gave information to a journalist because they didn't believe that the system or his, you know, uppers would have done or paid any attention to it. So because he told the American people the truth. Oh, Private Manning, we tortured the shit out of him, America, because he told us the truth. Edward Snowden can't live amongst us because he told us the truth. Julian Assange, I mean, if you look at all the things that Julian Assange has done, you know, you could say it's good or bad. I think it's good. I think he's, you know, pointed out corruption in government, and he's overturned, you know, systems of government because there was corruption that was in the government. So, yeah, so all their crime is telling us the truth, being a whistleblower, being a journalist, telling us what the fuck is up. The global security apparatus, no matter what, if you speak ill of the empire, you're going to, you know, get fucked. And Pete Buttigieg says, I'm troubled by clemency. I think Tulsi said she's going to drop all charges, and then Bernie said something about, you know, showing some clemency, showing compassion, not throwing the book at Snowden, but being, you know, pretty gentle with Edward Snowden. So yeah, that's Chelsea Manning update. Chelsea Manning is still in prison, still in jail. I want to say in D.C. or Virginia or something. I'm not for sure exactly what jail. And there's like a bunch of places you can donate and give money and help out in different ways. So Chelsea Manning is still in fucking jail. Still in jail. 22, only had 2 years of freedom in the last 10 years. You know, Private Manning's youth is gone. He sold his youth out because he was like, oh, America will back me. I'm doing the right thing because I'm a good person. I saw some crimes and I said, that's murder and that's evil and wicked. Meanwhile, those soldiers still get paid. The bad men are still getting paid. The bad men are still in positions of power. But the good, you know, man, the good person is in jail? This is weird. This is fucked up. This is wrong. This is backwards. So, yeah, free Bradley Manning. Free Chelsea Manning. Free Chelsea Manning. Peace.